All right, so day 3 of the Jonathan Majors trial. Let's just get into the article. Assistant Manhattan District Attorney Michael Perez told jurors Monday that Majors told 911 on March 25th that Jabari had possibly attempted suicide, which later was part of her evaluation at a local hospital that night. Doctors at Bellevue determined that she was not a suicide risk, which is one of the reasons Jabari was released that night. In her opening statement later this morning, defense lawyer Priya Chaudhry said that Jabari did threaten suicide. Both Jabari and Majors were sitting in the courtroom looking on during their opening statements on Monday. There we go. Unsurprisingly, in opening statements from both the prosecution and the defense this morning, it was a tale of two very different incidents. The Creed 3 actor left Jabari with a fractured finger, pain from a twisted arm, and a bloody cut behind one ear while wresting his cell phone back from her on a late-night car ride through Manhattan in the late hours between March 24th and 25th, ADA Perez said. Selected on November 30th out of a pool of 39, a jury of 3 men and 3 women plus 2 alternates will weigh the assault and harassment against Majors in a trial expected to last 2 weeks. Jabari, who turned herself in to police in October based on the cross-complaint from Majors, is on a prosecution witness list of more than a dozen people and is expected to testify. At present, it is unclear whether Majors will take the stand in his own defense. Having entered a not guilty plea earlier this year, the actor is facing up to a year behind bars if convicted. In describing the night in question, ADA Perez also told the court that Jabari had spotted a text on Majors' cell phone from another woman and grabbed the device. After the driver stopped and the confrontation spilled onto a street in Chinatown, Majors also violently shoved Jabari back inside their chauffeured ride, throwing her like a football back into the Escalade, Perez said. Unlike the altercation inside the vehicle, the shove was caught on camera, Perez asserted. More than once, he said, Majors struck, shoved, and otherwise subjected Grace Jabari to physical contact with intent to harm or harass her, and video and medical records will back up her account. Perez called the alleged assault the culmination of a relationship rooted in domestic violence perpetrated by Majors against Jabari over their time together, as prosecutors intend to demonstrate. Majors' lawyer, Priya Chaudhry, gave a starkly different account of what happened that night. The defense attorney told the court Monday that a seconds-long altercation over a text turned into a night of partying and dancing with strangers at a club for an uninjured Jabari. Chaudhry added that Jabari later returned to their apartment alone while Majors retreated to a hotel room and telling Jabari their relationship was over. The lawyer added to the jury that the prosecution will try to distract you with stories about the months and years prior to that incident, and things about Jonathan Majors that had nothing to do with what happened in the car. Looking at the panel, Chaudhry detailed the efforts Majors had made to get where he is in Hollywood and begged them to end this nightmare for him. Okay, before I continue, I don't care what his struggles were to get to Hollywood. That has absolutely zero to do with the night in question. Absolutely nothing. Majors was arrested in late March at the apartment in Chelsea he shared with Jabari after he called 911 to the residence and police asked her what happened. In his opening statement, ADA Perez explained that Jabari was reluctant to divulge what had happened because the defendant had manipulated her in the past and trained her to stay silent. Which is a thing, actually, with abuse victim. So yeah. He also stated that Jabari was intimidated by Major's presence during the interview with police. I have to admit, interviewing a potential domestic violence victim when the alleged perpetrator is there, probably not the best move. Maybe, take it downtown or, I don't know, go for a walk, have the alleged perpetrator go for a walk, but not have them in close contact where he could, overhear what you had to say. So, yeah, I can see where that would be problematic. Because if they do that for a person who it's questionable whether she is a domestic violence victim, what do you do with an actual domestic violence victim? So yeah, that's problematic. Chaudhry countered that the evidence will show Jabari, after hours away from Majors that she spent talking, texting, drinking, dancing, and partying, and crying about her belief that Mr. Majors was unfaithful, told police she didn't know what had happened to her, and couldn't account for her injuries until police asked her if Majors had caused them. She made these false statements to take away everything he has spent his whole life working for, Chaudhry said, adding, "This is a case about the end of a relationship, not about a crime. At least not one that Mr. Majors committed. This man is innocent." Majors arrived wearing a long black coat, black beret, and sunglasses. I saw the picture. He literally looked like a Black Panther. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but interesting choice of attire. He was accompanied by a handful of people, including the actor Meagan Good. Inside the courtroom, Majors, wearing a dark blazer over a short turtleneck, walked along the first row of seats in the gallery directly behind him, dispensing brief hugs and kisses to supporters. Before the jury was brought in, all parties agreed, at the request of the prosecution, to dismiss 4 of the 8 charges against Majors and consolidate them into the remaining accounts. Another round of lawyers sparring over evidence followed, with Judge Michael Gaffey placing limits on how much video and audio jurors will get to see and hear. Judge Gaffey also said that when Jabari is on the stand, the defense can ask the London-based movement coach whether the DA's office promised her help with a U.S. work visa in exchange for her cooperation. Gaffey also told Majors' lawyers, if the answer is no, you move on. Witness testimony is set to begin after lunch. Now, obviously this article was published before that testimony began. I don't have a update. But, let's see. I wonder if it was just the lawyers before the jury was brought in, because if Jabari overhears, or maybe her lawyers will just tell her, say no. So, doesn't that taint things a little? But anyway, witness testimony set to begin after lunch. Before then, Judge Gaffey admonished spectators to keep their reactions to themselves with no eye-rolling or laughing. It was unclear whether the judge had spotted anyone in the gallery reacting visibly to the opening statements. It's a rare misdemeanor case to go to a jury trial, but one with high personal and professional stakes for a defendant whose promising career has essentially ground to a halt. Yet the fact is, as Major's star noticeably dimmed in the wake of his arrest last spring, and other claims of threatening and violent behavior surfaced, his criminal case plotted through months of postponements and pre-trial hearings. Some of the latter took place behind closed doors, with the public denied access to the courtroom last week. That rarish move was to hear arguments over material Judge Michael Gaffey called so prejudicial and inflammatory towards Majors that he ultimately barred its release and then sealed his ruling on the matter. Sources have told Deadline that the sealed documents at issue contain information on potential past incidents involving the actor both in the U.S. and the U.K., which again doesn't sound good. I mean, if it's so bad that it would prejudice people against him because it shows, I don't know, a pattern of behavior or something, still not a good look for Jonathan. Police on the scene after Majors called 911 found Jabari with bruising, swelling, and a laceration and arrested the actor. Majors, in a cross-complaint filed in June, said Jabari flew at him in a jealous rage during a car ride in Lower Manhattan on the night of March 25th, and that he was trying to defend himself and defuse the confrontation. Throughout the case, Majors' legal team has cast him as the victim of racially biased policing and a mismanaged prosecution, citing texts and videos from that night. Majors' lawyer Priya Chaudhry said Jabari's injuries weren't serious enough to keep her from going to a nightclub afterwards. During juror screening, Chaudhry reminded the pool of 39 potential jurors that her client is under no obligation to testify. That sounds like he's not going to testify then? She then asked if anyone would hold it against Majors if he chose not to testify, and if he does, whether anyone would be inclined to disbelieve him just because he's an actor. No hands went up. Oh, well, I guess that is true. As an actor, he could probably turn on the waterworks or something. Nah, that never works for black men anyway. Just pretty white girls. The trial also might pit the prosecution against a law enforcement colleague. The NYPD detective who recommended that Jabari be investigated for assaulting Majors. Judge Gaffey has ruled that both Jabari's arrest under a so-called I-card summons and the detective's reasons for pursuing a case against Majors' accuser are fair game for the lawyers and the jury. While Majors appears in the second season of Disney Plus's Loki, he was dropped by management company Entertainment 360 and publicist The Lead Company in April. Previously announced roles for the Emmy-nominated stars of Max's Lovecraft Country dried up, and ad campaigns for the U.S. Army and the eventual World Series champion Texas Rangers were pulled. In October, Disney removed Magazine Dreams with Majors in a starring performance that was already generating Oscar buzz from its release schedule. So, that is all I have for this article. Like I said, I don't have an update about any witness testimony, so I don't know if that happened, if it didn't happen, if we're going to get an update at some point. I just don't know at this point. But anyway, that is all I have for day 3. And I will see you guys in the next video.